The Hyper Room.
The Hyper Room.
GM to all you fan humans out there, welcome to a new and a very special episode of The Hyper Room, a podcast that sits at the intersection of pop culture and Web3, where we talk about how comics, animation, and pop culture are colliding with blockchain technology. Today is our very first interview, and I'm very excited to have Kortelin, who is the product manager at Frank Miller Presents, and a whole new NFT project based on a new creation by one of comics' most popular and most famous creators, Frank Miller. Kortelin, how are you doing today?
Doing awesome. Really happy to talk to you today.
Great, excellent. We've been talking for a while, and we're learning a little bit more and more about what you're doing. But talk a little bit about what is Frank Miller Presents and how are you involved in it?
Absolutely. Frank Miller Presents is a brand new publishing company founded by Frank Miller and his partner Dan DiDio, the former publisher of DC Comics, and Frank's business partner, Selene Thomas. I've known Dan since 2020. When I got involved in a very large, high-profile Web3 project at the end of 2021 called Spice DAO, I reached out to Dan and shared with him that we actually had an acquisition strategy at Spice DAO, and we were looking for projects to support. Dan, at that point, shared with me, which was private at the time, this is first quarter of 2022, that he and Frank were teaming up to start this new publishing company, Frank Miller Presents. I was obviously extremely excited about the concept. Frank has been very vocal about supporting the art form, right, of comic books and sequential art, but also pushing the boundaries of what the print medium can do. So I think we are all aware of like that kind of unique 300 format that he printed the book in. Yeah. He's done black and white, made it more popular than probably anybody in comics. So he's always pushing that medium forward, but they actually had a real curiosity and an appetite to explore the digital medium, right? And I think Web3 is the frontier of digital assets and digital art and storytelling. And so there was a real synergy there. And we were kind of all on the same page. Basically, acting as the product manager at Spice DAO, I pitched them an NFT drop, specifically a 10,000 generative algorithm profile picture NFT project, because there are obviously different types of NFTs. They were really, really interested in exploring this kind of niche genre of NFTs, which is the 10,000 PFPs, where you basically draw hundreds of assets which form a portrait. So basically, you are starting with a character and then using digital base layers, you draw different eyes, different mouths, different hair, and then you accessorize the portrait. And you basically put all of those digital files into a computer algorithm, and the computer mixes and matches completely randomly so that the final image is basically a collaboration between man and machine. And I think all of us who are, love Frank Miller's work so much kind of see the kind of poetry here, right? Between man and machine, Frank's been telling that story since the 90s with Electra Assassin and his work on RoboCop, and Hard Boiled, right, is a robot who thinks he's a man. And, Ronin, which Frank Miller Presents, is actually publishing the part 2, basically, of Ronin, has the man and machine battle. So this is a really kind of incredible coming together fact and fiction, right?
Yeah.
Of art and reality.
Okay, sounds very exciting, and I want to just kind of go back over some of the things you just mentioned because it sounds very exciting, a lot of the things you just dropped. Okay, first let's talk about the PFP project. Will the PFPs be drawn by Frank?
So this is our sales pitch for this first series, this first NFT drop, because there will be more. The intention of the first 10K project is to basically give everybody a membership pass to the Ancient Enemies metaverse experience, if you will. So the first step, right? Whenever you enter a theme park or a movie theater, is you have to buy a ticket. And the NFT in this case acts as a ticket to, a whole slate of activities and content and new products that will come down the line. Frank Miller's involvement is that he has created a brand new original character called the Geek. And the Geek is the first Frank Miller original character to be born in the metaverse, meaning the Geek will not make its first appearance in the pages of a comic book. It makes its first appearance in an NFT collection. And we have 13 unique one-of-one Frank Miller drawings of the Geek, which are included in the 10,000 collection. So the idea is that, on Mint Day, we're running a blind mint, which means you buy up to 5 NFTs, which would equal each NFT is priced at zero point 0.2 ETH each. So you can basically spend up to 1 ETH, buy 5 NFTs, and you're doing a blind mint, meaning you don't know what image you will get. And so it's possible that if you buy 1 NFT or you buy 3 NFTs or 5 NFTs, you might pull out of those 10,000, you might pull one of those 13 Frank Miller one-of-ones.
Okay, that's amazing. And to be clear, there is going to be an Ancient Enemies print comic book available at comic shops around the world, right? This is a bi-monthly series coming out, dropping in, I believe it's November.
Correct. Yes, exactly. So, people who are listening are probably like, well, if Frank is drawing 13 NFTs, who's drawing the other 9,000, 900? And that's Danilo Beyruth, a Brazilian digital artist who is doing incredible work. He is the regular artist for the Ancient Enemies comic book series, which is, as you say, a 6-issue limited series published by Frank Miller Presents. It's the first title that they're releasing from their slate. And issue number 1 comes out in November. But in August, Frank and Dan have been doing the Fan Expo comic book circuit. And in August in Boston, they will be giving out free copies of Frank Miller Presents number 1, which is essentially like a ash can, right?
Yeah.
So it shows you like previews of all the different titles in their first slate. And it includes issue 0, the Genesis story from Ancient Enemies. So there's actually a single issue which will be released for free in August in print, and that's a very limited number of physical print copies. People who buy the NFT collection, right, in August, so we have 3 mint dates, August 5th, August 8th, and the public sale is August 15th. If you buy an NFT, you actually get a digital copy of issue 0, the Genesis story to Ancient Enemies, which is drawn by Danilo. Now, the final point is Frank Miller's character, the Geek, makes its first print appearance in issue number 2. And that is published January, February of next year.
And the only way to get this ash can is to be at the Fan Expo.
Be in Boston, yeah.
Oh,
in Boston.
Wow. And
or,
is the digital
or buy an NFT. Buy an NFT.
Well, is the digital copy a NFT, or is it just the PDF of the comic?
That's a great question. So I think we've decided to airdrop a second NFT. So you basically you buy from the 10K collection, and then everyone who owns at least one of the original Ancient Enemies NFT drop, they will get airdropped, which means a second NFT is transferred to your wallet for free. And that will represent Ancient Enemies issue 0.
Okay.
Now, the way that you read that digital issue number 0 is actually by visiting the website that we've created for the NFT drop, which is ancientenemies.io. And that website is not live at the time of this recording, but that's where you're going to go to mint your NFTs and to, get all of your updates and your exclusive content. And that's where you'll have members only benefits, etc. So on that ancientenemies.io website, we will be creating a dedicated web page which hosts issue 0. And it's token gated, which means the only way you can access that exclusive web page is by having owning an NFT in your wallet. And so the step-by-step process is you visit the website, you connect your wallet, it detects that you have an Ancient Enemy NFT in your wallet, and then it opens up that web page revealing issue 0.
So each NFT from the ancient enemies is zero point 0.2 ETH, which as of today is around 295 US dollars if you wanted to get one, and you're allowed to mint up to 5. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about the story of what Ancient Enemies is about?
Oh, absolutely. Um, so it's a science fiction story where planet Earth becomes the final battlefield of a war between these two alien races. And they're basically at war in outer space in their battleships, and their battleships collide in front of a black hole, essentially. So this kind of collision of two spaceships falls into the black hole, and the spaceships, as they're crashing and being demolished, end up on planet Earth. And so they crash into planet Earth. And so the alien technology between these two different alien tribes basically gets transferred to the humans on planet Earth, right? Essentially breeding a new generation of people who have superpowers. And basically, the heroes of the story, the main characters, which is like over a dozen main characters in this series, these humans basically get superpowers and then join the war between the two alien tribes, which is happening on Earth. And they influence the outcome, right, of the final battle. Some choose to be heroes, and others really struggle to maintain their independence with the hope of saving Earth. Which alien tribe to be loyal to? Do you be loyal to the Earthlings? So, yeah, that's a quick synopsis of Ancient
Wow,
Enemies.
it sounds very expansive, sounds very exciting. There sounds like a lot of characters. So just to confirm on the NFT project, so these are just going to be generative art based on some of the characters from the story, or are they just kind of more like mascots of the story? Or are you actually getting the actual characters that are in the Ancient Enemies comic?
That's a great question. So it's definitely, we had a lot of conversations about what content to include in the first NFT drop. Because there's obviously a lot of content and story to be shared in the 6-issue series. Um, and we are doing one of many NFT drops. What we decided to do was just kind of get a balanced array of the diverse characters in the story. So we have, some aliens and some humans. We have some, demonstrating their superpowers. And we have like some space kaijus on top of that, right? So it's just like a kind of a broad overview. And what the NFT collection, can do here, if you talk about the technology versus other kind of products that in, the legacy media, like toys or television shows or feature films, they're basically recycling content that has already been debuted, right, in the original source material, which in this case is a comic book. But the NFT collection is actually creating brand new versions of these characters. So you're basically already expanding the universe through the new medium, right? So this is really, I think, the future of storytelling across all mediums, is that if you are curious and adventurous enough to, engage and collect the NFTs, you're actually learning more about the universe, the characters, the story, the world. It's part of the world building that you do not get if you're just reading those 6 issues of the limited comic book series.
Mm.
And this is really our thesis, moving forward. That Ancient Enemies, has its main storyline, which is in the first print series. But there are so many different directions you can go. I think, traditionally we would call that a spin-off. Instead of, the traditional route of a spin-off, which would be like focus on one character, right? And then you go off in that direction and follow them. Well, with NFTs, because of the volume that is possible, right? You're actually able to go in all different directions all at once. And I can't think of anything more exciting for, a reader, an audience member to engage with. The final thing I'll mention is community. Frank, Dan, and I, talked about the comic book industry as it exists today, which has been very challenged by the pandemic, right? Your local comic book store has been shut down. You can't browse the stacks. You almost have to know exactly what you're looking for before you engage with a retailer, which kind of goes against the entire point of like, having a store and having that store owner be the curator, right, to
Right.
introduce you to new
Yeah.
books. With NFTs, the way that the communication happens between creator and reader, right, is actually all happening on two or three apps, right? So the first is Twitter, like all of Web3 communicates on Twitter, where you can basically send messages in public and in private to the creators, and they can answer you in public and in private, right? Um, you can also talk to them in Discord, and Discord we view as the new local comic book store experience. That's where you can go into a server and talk to people from all around the world who are there specifically to talk about, things that they all have in common, which in this case is Frank Miller. This new intellectual property, Ancient Enemies, these new characters, the potential for new storylines, which can be, seeded in those community conversations. We really view that kind of holistic model as being fully available in a way that never was previously in the print publishing comic book industry, where it was very like geographically specific, right? You're either at San Diego Comic Con, or you're at Angoulême in France, or you're at the Tokyo annual comic book convention. Your local comic book store is local, right? So you can only meet people if you're actually there in person. Obviously, in the United States, for example, it's easy. People travel around. But, in the digital medium, online, we are actually able to all be in the same place at the same time with each other.
Very interesting. So some NFT projects these days are offering IP rights to holders. Will there be any of this with this project?
That's a great question. So the terms of use or the owner's license is still being drafted. So I can't really speak definitively on it. Definitely one angle we're pursuing, and this is again not being decided, but it's something we have discussed, is allowing people to monetize their NFT, which is of course a unique image that only they own. Um, Monetize it up to $50,000 a year, for example, right?
Yeah.
In US dollars. So you could make T-shirts with your image from your NFT and sell up to $50,000 a year of merch based on your NFT, and you get to keep it all. So this is just an example. Obviously, no decisions have been made, but these are the ideas that we are considering.
Amazing.
And yeah, if you look at kind of the blue chip NFT projects, each one kind of has different, rights associated with it. But I think, leaders in the space are obviously Yuga Labs, who produced Bored Ape Yacht Club. They also acquired CryptoPunks, which are, they're not the first NFT, but kind of they're definitely the most high profile early NFT project.
Right. Right.
And they gave, kind of similar limited rights to the NFT owners, like that I just described.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, our NFTs will come with additional utility, at future comic book conventions. There will be meetups where only NFT owners will be given access. And, like Dan DiDio will be there to talk, like kind of share exclusive previews about future issues about Ancient Enemies, for example. So yeah, there's a lot of perks
Yeah.
that we are developing that will roll out, once the collection mints out.
Another thing that a lot of NFTs are doing now is in terms of collaborative storytelling. Now, I would be the last person in the world to tell Frank Miller how to write a comic book. But would that kind of in the Discord, when you say community and you're talking about comics, would there be an opportunity for the holders and the fans to be able to like maybe comment on some, what their favorite characters are. So maybe they would focus on those characters, or if there's a mission they might want them to go on. Is that kind of thing that you guys are thinking about, that Frank's thinking about in this level?
Definitely thinking about it. And we know that, all the way back to Stan Lee's soapbox in Marvel Comics titles, the letters columns, right, always solicited feedback from the
Yeah.
readers. This is like literally a cornerstone of, comic books, is reader feedback. I think um, the progression we're making here in the digital medium is that not only can you make a comment, but you can actually influence the outcome of projects
Right.
um, through your ownership of the project, which comes from owning a stake in it, which is your NFT,
Hmm.
right? So this isn't like idle chatter. Of course, people bought the comic book, right? Which is the reason why they're commenting on, Spider-Man or Thor's latest storyline. The difference with NFTs, again, I've used the word, is volume. It's that kind of infinite potential because it's a digital medium. So there are no restrictions in terms of, oh, we can only print this many copies, or we can only, have these many pages. Specifically, speaking about Ancient Enemies, which is written by Dan DiDio, right, with original art by Danilo Beyruth, and it features Frank Miller's brand new character, the Geek. Dan is not accepting any kind of contributions from the community for the 6-issue original series, the print series. However, as we build out the world, right, through the online community that will be created through the first NFT drop, we will be giving readers the opportunity to basically expand on ideas. And then the way we can explore those is actually through some new protocols that are kind of not public right now, but using blockchain technology, it can actually facilitate a audience member, a reader, to actually influence the outcome, participate in the production of the final product.
Wow, that sounds very exciting. I think that's definitely the next generation for comic book fandom. Definitely collaborating with their favorite creators on new characters that they can work together on. So it's very exciting. Now, another thing you mentioned previously, which is of course one of the things I'm most excited about. So I want to know what you can actually say about it. But in the '80s, Frank Miller made his name on Daredevil and for Marvel Comics, and basically revolutionized that character even to today. Everybody still uses that blueprint as Daredevil. When he left Daredevil, he went to DC Comics. He went to the opposite team and produced one of his probably most groundbreaking original concept, which is Ronin, right? The story of the samurai that goes into the future. At the time, I think it was really hyped, and a lot of people didn't understand what it was. But this is almost 40 years later. You're saying now that Frank Miller Presents is returning with Ronin Book 2. What can you tell us about that?
Yes. So, Frank is writing Ronin Book 2, which I was super, super excited about. He's
Yes.
not drawing it, but
Okay.
Philip Tan is actually doing the art. It's the best work of his career. Each page is absolutely uh, mind blowing. It is the most impressive, page by page, panel by panel art I've seen in a long time. And my understanding is they're publishing it in black and white in grayscale.
Wow.
And so it is so lush, it is so layered. The detail is so fine. Though there you have those crisp lines against the solid blacks. It's truly, truly unique and impressive. That's kind of what I can share right now. I've seen the preview in the Ashcan, which again will be distributed at Boston Fan Expo in August. But yeah, and I think we're just all extremely excited that IP is coming back, right? That story, which I think was in many ways ahead of its time, and you can kind of say that about multiple Frank Miller projects. But I
Right.
think Ronin was slept on for a long time, and we're all extremely excited to kind of turn the spotlight on it again.
And will there be an NFT drop for that?
We're not planning that right now. To be honest, the reason is because of legal reasons. There's DC Comics owns parts of it, Frank's owns parts of it. If you're going to throw a third party like, Spice DAO, which is producing the Ancient Enemies NFT drop, or Frank Miller Presents, which is its own company, I think you're getting too many cooks in the kitchen.
Got it.
So, the idea with NFTs is you come with IP that you own 100%. And, Dan and Frank own 100% of Ancient Enemies.
Fantastic, fantastic. And also, I believe they're doing Sin City as well with Frank, a new Sin City version as well as part of the Frank Miller Presents. So it all sounds super exciting. So upcoming now in August, you're talking about ancientenemies.io, which hasn't launched yet, but will launch soon. What are the mint days and how do I get involved and get one of these NFTs?
Yeah, so number one is follow us on Twitter.
Okay.
The official account is FMP, which is an abbreviation for Frank Miller Presents, FMP Web 3. FMP Web 3. So follow us on Twitter, and that is where you get updates 3 times a day on not only the NFT project, but also on Frank Miller Presents. So we'll be, I think we have 4 weeks or less, just less than 4 weeks before the drop. And so we have 3 updates a day there. We're running contests where you can get on the allow list, which allows you to mint early. You can get on the deposit list, which allows you to mint even earlier. And then public sales. So the dates, the 3 dates are minting for deposit list. People on the deposit list is August 5th. Minting for people on the allow list is August 8th. And then the public sale is August 15th. So on our Twitter page is a link to our Discord. And that's where the community is talking all day, every day. It's a very global community right now. We have people from the United States, from Asia, from Europe, Britain, Australia, Canada. And yeah, closer to the mint date, about 1 week before August 5th, the website will be up, and that's where you go to mint your NFT.
Can you maybe just tell the audience a little bit, why are there 3 different dates for minting?
What we've learned, in July of 2022, is that there have been a few elements that really work in basically giving the most access to the most amount of people for the least amount of cost. So what is unique across all blockchains is that every time you want to do a transaction, for example, purchase an NFT, you have to pay gas, which is basically funds that go to the validators, the people that run the blockchain. I don't want to kind of go down any rabbit hole here. It's not
It's okay.
important.
You're doing a good job.
But just think about it like a sales tax, right?
Yeah.
It's really no
Right.
different. Now, the thing is, last year when the crypto was absolutely booming, right? It was a huge bull market. There were hundreds of thousands of people participating in it. The sales tax was very, very high, and it was
Yeah.
literally because the blockchain was stressed. There were a lot of transactions it needed to process. So it said, geez, if you want to process your transaction in a timely manner, right, which is like with, under a minute or within a couple minutes, you're going to have to pay a very high cost. Today, we are not in that environment anymore. It is a bear market. There are a lot less participants. This is great for those of us who want to still participate, right, and who still want to have fun and collect NFTs on the blockchain. So the idea of these three separate dates actually comes from last year, where you would have limited lists of people who were able to mint your NFTs within a 24-hour period. This would make sure that the gas or the sales tax would not spike, you see? So it basically helps, lower your cost. Today, it's more just about, again, giving people the most amount of access and giving people options. People who see the Frank Miller name brand, right? And they don't need to know anything else. They just want to buy the NFT, right? And they trust that everybody involved is going to, deliver an exceptional product. we created the deposit list, which allows them to put 50% down. That 50% goes into a custom smart contract. It is backed by the Spice DAO treasury, which has 665 ETH in it. Also, the contract allows you to redeem your tokens at any time. You don't have to ask permission. You don't have to tell anybody. You can say, "Oops, I deposited some ETH, but I need it back." So you can do that. We created this brand new product. Actually, this has not been done to our knowledge in NFTs. A deposit list. So it allows you to reserve up to 5 NFTs by putting down 50%, and then you can mint before anybody else. So that's the August 5th mint date. Then we have an allow list. Last year, these were called whitelists. Whitelist and an allow list is the exact same thing. It basically allows you to record your wallet address, and we create a limited list. And basically, people on August 8th who are on the Ancient Enemies NFT allow list can mint up to we haven't decided 3 NFTs or 5 NFTs, not clear. And then finally, you have the public sale, which is that anyone can go to ancientenemies.io, connect their wallet, and then buy. Again, we haven't figured out the limit of NFTs, but it'd be 3 to 5, let's say. Or depending on the supply, you might just be able to mint 1 NFT during the public sale. And hopefully, by kind of phasing the sales process, we give access to everybody. And by the end of that third minting phase, the public sale, we sell out the collection.
Okay, great. All right, I'm going to put all those links into the show notes at thehyperroom.com for anybody who wants to be able to click through and find the Discord, the Twitter, and things like that. It's amazing. I'm very excited, Kortelin. It's not a hard sell to me, a big Frank Miller fan, and being part of this kind of new chapter in him and Dan's career in publishing comics. Is there any other things you want to drop here before we go?
Oh, no, this has been a great conversation. Great questions. I think we've covered everything.
Great. Excellent. Thank you so much, Kortelin. We'll see you on Mint Day at ancientenemies.io.
The Hyper Room. The Hyper Room.